Melody Shari had officially released a statement confirming she would no longer be part of Love and Marriage, Huntsville after 9 seasons. After years of being one of the most central figures on the show, she has now chosen to step away. Melody was never just another reality TV cast member. She was often seen as the heartbeat of the series. Confident, outspoken, and unafraid to express her truth, she connected deeply with viewers who didn't just watch her journey, but genuinely supported her growth. However, in reality television, strong personalities and rising influence can often lead to behind-the-scenes tension. Attention eventually turned toward executive producer Carlos King, who is known for building successful reality franchises, but also making bold, creative decisions. What began as a strong partnership between Melody and Carlos, where she provided authentic storytelling and he shaped it into compelling television, gradually became more complicated over time. As Melody's influence grew beyond the show through business ventures and her personal brand, the balance of control reportedly began to shift. Over the seasons, fans started noticing changes in how she appeared on screen. Her storylines felt less prominent, her screen time seemed reduced, and her presence no longer carried the same focus it once did. This led to growing speculation about creative differences, contract disagreements, and whether there were deeper issues behind the scenes regarding how her story was being portrayed. Instead of a dramatic public exit, her departure happened quietly and gradually, which only added more questions from viewers. Once the announcement became clear, the show continued moving forward without pause, introducing new storylines and shifting attention to other cast members. While production carried on, many fans felt a noticeable void, as Melody had played a major role in shaping the show's identity from the beginning. Rather than fading away, Melody shifted her focus toward her independent platforms, especially social media, where she continued to engage with her audience on her own terms. Fans began closely analyzing her posts and interviews, believing she was still expressing her side of the story in more subtle ways. Meanwhile, the show remained under Carlos King's direction, continuing its structure and narrative without her presence. This contrast between the ongoing series and her new independent path sparked ongoing debate among viewers. Some believe she was pushed out due to control and creative differences, while others see it as a natural evolution of her career beyond reality TV. Regardless of the perspective, one thing is clear: her exit marked a major shift in the show's dynamic, and the impact of her presence is still being felt. In reality television, stories rarely end completely, and both the show and Melody's journey continue to evolve in different directions, leaving fans still questioning what truly happened behind the scenes and what may come next. As conversations around her departure continued, the discussion only grew more intense online, with fans revisiting past seasons and trying to pinpoint where the shift really began. Some viewers believe the tension didn't happen overnight, but rather built up slowly as Melody became more independent and confident in shaping her own image beyond the show's control. Others argue that reality TV naturally evolves, and cast changes are simply part of keeping long-running series fresh. Still, the emotional reaction from the audience showed just how important she had become to the identity of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Without her at the center, many felt the tone of the show had changed, even if the format remained the same. At the same time, production continued pushing forward, focusing on new conflicts, new storylines, and shifting relationships among the remaining cast members, proving that the show itself was not slowing down. Meanwhile, Melody's growing independence outside the series only added to the public interest, as every appearance, post, or interview was analyzed for hidden meaning or unspoken messages about her experience. This created a situation where both her absence and her presence were still driving conversation, just in different spaces. As time goes on, the divide between the show's direction and her personal journey continues to fuel debate, leaving fans divided between those who believe she was strategically written out and those who see it as a natural transition into a new phase of her career. Either way, her impact on the show remains undeniable, and the conversation around what truly happened behind the scenes is still far from over. As the discussion continues to grow, one thing becomes more obvious. This situation is no longer just about one cast member leaving a show. It has turned into a bigger conversation about how reality television is shaped, who holds the power behind the scenes, and how much control cast members truly have over their own stories. Fans continue to look back at earlier seasons with a different perspective, rewatching moments and reading between the lines in ways they didn't before. What once felt like simple entertainment now feels layered, with people questioning how much of what they saw was organic and how much was guided by production decisions. At the same time, the cast dynamics on the show continue to evolve without Melody at the center. New conflicts and relationships are being highlighted, but many viewers still compare everything to the earlier seasons when her presence played a major role in shaping the tone of the series. Even with new storylines in place, there is a lingering sense among some fans that something foundational is missing, which continues to affect how they engage with the show. On Melody's side, her independent growth has only strengthened the attention around her. Instead of stepping out of the spotlight, she has remained visible in her own way, building her brand and maintaining a direct connection with her audience. This independence has allowed her to control how she is seen and what she chooses to share, which contrasts sharply with the structured environment of reality TV. As a result, every move she makes continues to draw discussion, with supporters and critics analyzing her journey from different angles. Over time, the situation has become less about a single decision and more about perspective. Some see her exit as a natural step in personal and professional evolution, while others view it as a reflection of deeper issues within the production system. What remains consistent, however, is the level of interest from the audience. Whether through the ongoing show or Melody's independent platform, the conversation keeps going, shaped by curiosity, speculation, and emotional investment. In the end, both paths continue forward separately, but still connected through shared history. The show moves on with new direction and leadership, while Melody continues building her own narrative outside of it. And even though the chapters have split, the story itself still holds public attention, with many believing that the full truth behind everything that happened has not yet been fully told. As time moves forward, the situation continues to settle into a new normal, but the conversation around it never fully fades. The show remains active, still delivering drama, relationships, and shifting alliances, yet there is an ongoing comparison to the era when Melody was a central force. For many viewers, it's not just about what is currently happening on screen, but about how different everything feels compared to before. That sense of change keeps her name in the discussion, even in her absence. Meanwhile, the production side continues to build new directions for the series, focusing on other cast members and expanding storylines to keep the audience engaged. Reality television, by nature, adapts quickly, and the show has clearly made efforts to move forward without relying on one individual. Still, fans often point out that certain emotional depth or intensity that once defined earlier seasons feels different now, even if the format remains familiar. On Melody's end, her continued presence outside the show keeps her relevant in a completely different way. She has shifted into a space where she controls her own narrative, deciding what to share and when to share it. That independence has strengthened her personal brand and allowed her to stay connected with her supporters without the limitations of editing, production direction, or scripted structure. Because of that, her story now unfolds on her own terms rather than through a television lens. As both paths continue separately, the contrast between them becomes even more noticeable. One side operates within a structured production system designed for ongoing storytelling, while the other exists as an independent public figure building a self-directed career. This difference is part of what keeps the conversation alive, as people continue to interpret events based on limited information and personal perspective. Even now, there is still no single agreed-upon version of how everything unfolded. Some believe it was a strategic shift driven by production needs, while others see it as a natural conclusion to a long chapter in reality TV. What is clear, however, is that the impact of her time on the show still lingers, and the audience's interest has not fully moved on. Ultimately, both journeys continue forward in their own direction, but the connection between them remains part of the larger story. And as long as viewers remain invested, the discussion around what really happened and what it all means will likely continue to evolve. As the conversation continues to evolve, it becomes clear that this moment has also reshaped how audiences view reality television as a whole. What once felt like pure entertainment is now often seen through a more critical lens, with viewers becoming more aware of editing choices, production influence, and the way narratives are constructed over time. This shift in awareness has made fans more analytical, not just about Melody's journey, but about the entire structure of the show itself. At the same time, the ripple effects of her exit continue to show within the series. The remaining cast members now carry more of the storytelling weight, and while new drama and relationships keep the show active, there is still an unspoken comparison to the earlier seasons when Melody's presence anchored much of the emotional intensity. For longtime viewers, that contrast is difficult to ignore, and it continues to shape how they experience new episodes. Outside of the show, Melody's continued independence reinforces the idea that her story didn't end with her departure. Instead, it simply moved into a different space. By operating on her own platforms, she has been able to maintain visibility while also redefining how she connects with her audience. This shift has given her the freedom to grow without the constraints of a structured cast environment, allowing her narrative to expand beyond what was shown on television. As both sides continue to develop separately, the gap between them also highlights the difference between controlled storytelling and personal storytelling. One follows a production-driven format designed to maintain ongoing narratives, while the other is shaped directly by individual choice and direction. That contrast is a major reason why interest in this situation remains strong, as audiences try to understand not just what happened, but how it was shaped in the first place. Even as new seasons unfold and Melody continues building her own path, the discussion surrounding her departure does not seem to lose momentum. Instead, it transforms over time, shifting from immediate reactions to deeper reflection about influence, ownership, and legacy within reality television. Fans continue to revisit earlier moments with new interpretations, finding meaning in scenes that once seemed straightforward. In the bigger picture, this situation has become more than a cast change. It represents a turning point in how viewers engage with reality TV personalities and the systems behind them. And as both the show and Melody's individual journey continue forward, the story remains open-ended, shaped as much by public perception as by the events themselves. As this story continues to unfold in the public eye, it also highlights how quickly narratives can shift once a major figure leaves a long-running series. For some viewers, the change feels like the end of an era, while for others it represents a reset that allows the show to evolve in a new direction. Either way, the transition has permanently altered how the series is discussed and experienced. Within the show itself, the focus has increasingly moved toward rebuilding its identity without relying on past central figures. New conflicts, shifting friendships, and evolving personal storylines now carry the weight of keeping the audience engaged. While this keeps the format active, it also reinforces how significant Melody's role once was, as her absence continues to be felt in the overall rhythm of the show. At the same time, the conversation surrounding production control and creative direction has become more common among fans of reality television in general. Viewers are no longer just passive consumers. They actively question how storylines are shaped, who benefits from certain edits, and how much of what they see reflects real life versus structured storytelling. This growing awareness has made situations like this one more heavily debated and widely analyzed. For Melody, the continued interest in her journey has extended beyond the show's boundaries. Her independence allows her to remain part of the cultural conversation without being tied to the constraints of a single platform. Every update, appearance, or business move contributes to an ongoing narrative that now exists outside traditional reality TV storytelling. In that sense, her influence has not diminished, it has simply changed form. As time passes, both paths continue to develop in parallel. The show pushes forward with new energy and direction, while Melody builds her own space with increasing autonomy. Neither storyline fully replaces the other, and that tension between past and present keeps public interest alive. It also reinforces the idea that reality television personalities can outgrow the platforms that originally introduced them, creating new dynamics between creators, producers, and audiences. Ultimately, what remains is an